Hey everybody, 大家好。Almost Happy New Year，快到过年还没有到，10年快来了。我叫恒实，My name is Heng Sure, and we're almost at the year of the snake. Not quite, got a few more days to wait, but I wanted to be the first to greet you with a Happy New Year's greeting. We are gathered here today to investigate the Ten Transferences chapter of the Avatamsaka Sutra. What an amazing opportunity this presents for us today. So if all is in readiness, as I hope it is, hope you can hear me clear. Oh, there we go. Could be a little too loud on the volume there, maybe. If you can hear me well, I would like to ring the handbell 3 times and lead all of us in 3 half bows to the Buddha. Then Elaine is going to request Dharma. 那么各位如果大家都准备好了，我们就一起研究大方广佛华严经的十回向品。好，那个microphone 的声音调好了，我就敲眼镜3下，然后各位可以跟我一起在自己的座位上就行3个问心礼哈，然后呢 Elaine 就来请法。OK, here we go. 1问心，2问心，3问心。Okay, Elaine, if you would like to request Dharma, please go ahead and do it right now.
恭请大德圣听，为此法会集一切众生，请转妙法轮，教导我们如何了生脱死，离苦得乐，速证无生。Will the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave suffering and attempt bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realign on birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo saranto suchedoye alahadi samyao sambuddhosye.
Namo saranto suchedoye alahadi samyao sambuddhosye.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in billions of eons, but now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 好的 Thank you, Elaine, for the Dharma request. We're going to continue to set up our lecture today by inviting the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas of the Flower Garland Assembly and the Dharma protectors, the gods, the dragons, the Eightfold Pantheon, all to draw near. We do that with a melody. Namo 佛菩萨 one more time. Get us off to a rousing start. And we would like to acknowledge that the Pomo people practiced spiritual connections to the earth and to all creation. They're in the Ukiah Valley, their ancestral land for tens of thousands of years, and today we acknowledge them as traditional custodians and original storytellers of these lands. We offer our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging, and all First Nations people whose sovereignty was never ceded. So, 我们恭敬地承认 Pomo 人是我们寺院所在地的传统叙事者和守护人。我们向过去、现在和未来的长者们致敬，并且向所有从来没有放弃主权的第一民族的原住民致敬。The bell sound wide resounds throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. 众生传3000劫内，佛法扬万亿国中，共训其法界和平，利益报他脑后的。Here we go. Alrighty. Now, for my own edification, let's see here. Looking. Okay, good, yes. Alrighty. Alright. 欢迎各位. Welcome everybody to the lecture. Delighted that you're here. Let's see here. Okay. How nice. If anybody knows how you can access Zoom's attendance records, I would like to know how that is done. As far as I know, they disappear. There might be some back-end process by which you can capture the names of everybody who's here, instead of just reading them off. Okay. So, hey, here's the situation. We've been away for a month. There we go. We've been away for a month because of the retreats at the end of the year, the Amitabha session, 3 weeks of Chan. Let's see here. Okay, on the bottom, says Bob. Okay. See, it says more. Enable participant restart video, enable waiting room. Okay. Yeah. All right. To be investigated. So during the winter retreats, we didn't open up this lecture series, didn't open up the sutra. We concluded. Here comes a cockatoo to greet us. We did the last Avatamsaka lecture spiced up by those wonderful Pure Land response stories, because we were heading into an Amitabha session. So we told stories from the collected records of those monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen who successfully went off to the Pure Land at death, just and discovered in the Tripitaka there's this whole raft of archived stories like that. And the amazing thing is they're still happening, still going on. It didn't stop at all. Pure Land is absolutely open for business. People are checking in all the time. Amitabha's vows didn't stop because we look back into the past. It's happening now, it's going to happen in the future. So that was how we finished the last. The chapter 39, Entering the Dharma Realm lectures continued apace. So, and also we paused the Master Empty Cloud picture biography lectures, but for those of you, 等一下我准备翻译哈。For those of you who are following the story of Master Empty Cloud in the picture biography lectures, we came to the end of volume 1. There's a 2-volume set, and the last 4 lectures, the last 4 episodes in that series have to do with Master Empty Cloud's enlightenment experience at Gaoming Monastery. The famous encounter with the teacup, where he gets hot water poured on his hand instead of in the teacup. He drops the cup, it goes shatter, and he gets enlightened. He's 59 years old. Wonderful experience. That's half of his life, the first half of his life. So, OK, 就说我们1个月都没有讲过十回向品，因为就到年底都有弥陀期、佛期，有3个禅期，4个礼拜了，那个都结束了。各位记不记得这个最后一次讲完了《华严经》一部分，就讲什么？就是往生西方的故事，就是这个净土法门都有很多好几百年了，大家什么时候有人用阿弥陀佛的愿力来往生西方，都记载了，就把这些故事记中了，就记了成这个文集了。所以我们就念一念几个这个往生的故事。哇，这个极乐世界并没有完满了，他们不度假了，阿弥陀佛的愿力并不暂时停，没有了，继续接受。我们谁就信愿行，就念佛就往生了，发这个愿呢，阿弥陀佛接受了。So we actually had some of our members of our community just now pass away in 海内外, as they say, domestically and overseas. So there's no time like the present to get those seeds with the Pure Land planted, get those lotuses ready to receive us when if you take it down to 24 hours in a day, every instant seems like a timeless, no past, no present, no future, is just this now. If you look at if you use the Buddhist time, the Buddhist clock, the Buddhist time scale to measure, it's just the blink of an eye that we come and go. So why not take this time where we're breathing now, even if we're experiencing ill health, even if we're down in Southern California and every breath is bringing us microparticles of toxic waste vaporized in the heat of the fires, and we're breathing that in, doesn't matter what kind of oxygen, what degree of purity the oxygen we're breathing, if we're breathing, and we can go Namo Amito Pho, that's a good outcome. That's a perfect moment to plant a seed in the lotus of our future in the Pure Land. If I can remember so I don't forget. At the end of this lecture, I've got a little video to play, which is quite inspiring from Los Angeles, where the 加州华严学会 had made a video about after the fire. So I won't. Those of you who haven't seen that video, I'll keep it until we finish our lecture today. 就说我们能什么时候念一声佛号，在极乐世界一个清净的莲花种下一个种子，这个缘，那就是知道怎么好用这个光明，好用时间。这个虽然就是因为既然极乐世界不停止不度假了，所以我们一定要用这个时间，有一口气，就说无论我们吸进来是那个样，即是清净不清净。好比说呢，现在有人就说在南加州，在洛杉矶那里，现在那个空气非常有毒了，必须要呼吸就戴着一个口罩，因为那个 micro particles 那个微细的东西都是烧过的，这些毒的东西了，所以呼吸现在在洛杉矶就不健康，没有关系，就说不要紧，因为用那口气来念佛的圣号，虽然时间过得好，看起来是有长有短，用佛教的时间来度量，就是转眼一闪眼睛了，就再来就走了就回来，所以知道这个情形，那个真实的情形，就用那个时间来念佛就对了。Okay, that's my sermon for the morning. We are here in the 8th transference. 我们已经讲到第8回向，这个真如相回向。At the end of today's page 24 and 25 here in my sutra, we get to 譬如真如, this turning point in the 8th transference. This is an important moment because from here on, it is just 譬如真如, just as true suchness is something or other. And we have to come to grips with this idea of true suchness. It's very much a Buddhist concept. It's an Avatamsaka concept. It's a Mahayana concept. And we'll be digging into it next week because we'll be with it for a while. It's a challenge for lecturers because this is the 8th transference. We are already way up there into the ranks of bodhisattvas, and it's not a state that we can aspire. We can't pretend that we've experienced it, so we have to explain through principle, which makes for a dry lecture, but the Avatamsaka always surprises you. It's always surprising you. You come into it with an open heart and a beginner's mind, a childlike mind, and you come away enriched, wiser, and more compassionate every time. So that's give us a sense of where we are. 我们已经讲到第8回向，真如相回向，名字叫真如相回向。这个道理呢是很深的。什么叫真如？等一等，下个礼拜开始我们就研究了。这个真如这个道理呢，是第8回向的菩萨才能掌握，这是很深的道理了不过我不敢好像给大家这个意思，我明白这个道理，我很清楚这个不能这么说的，因为这是菩萨的境界，第8回向的菩萨的境界，很高的境界。可是我们就用一种就说一种就说how do we say it？ 就用一种春的一种不是那么 就是一种恭敬的心，来一个开朗的心来研究了每一次这样子，让华严经把那个法水清净的这个醍醐就润滋我们的菩提亚，就听完了经，包括我在内，就真的觉得好像法身慧命吃饱了，有阴阳给我们的佛性阴阳的一些法宝，这个法水、慈悲水，智慧水。Okay, stop. All right, here we go. Here's today. Here's our beginning sentence today. We're going to go line by line. Okay, ready? Everybody going to read with me this first line? Here we go. 观一切义，即种种行，随事言说而无所着，除灭一切执着因缘。They contemplate all principles and various kinds of practices, following the ways of the world, and yet free of any attachments. They eradicate the causes and conditions of attachment. Okay. Now, I have a question about this first translation. Here it is, the Chinese. Ready? Let's take a look. Guan, look at. 一切义, all meanings, all principles. They contemplate all the various principles of the Dharma and the many kinds of practices as well. And following the way the world talks about them, they are nowhere attached. They don't cling, they don't stick to any of it. So this is a dependent clause. Here's the verb. Following. They follow along with how the world talks about them, but they don't attach to them. They look at all the principles and all the different ways of putting those principles into practice, and they do it the way everybody else does, but they don't attach to it. So the phrase that I have a question with is following world's talking points. I don't see that in the translation. They contemplate principles and various kinds of practices, following the ways of the world's references, the way the world talks about them, and they don't cling to them. So that's, how does the world talk about principles and practices? This is a, if I had to pin this down and come up with a clear, precise definition, you could approach it from a lot of different angles. How does the world talk about these? Well, either slanderously, they slander these practices and principles, or they do it academically. They use big words to describe these. Is that what the bodhisattvas do? We're talking about bodhisattvas in the 8th stage, on the 8th transference. And then the dependent clause here, the modifier is, and the way they talk about them, they don't attach to it. Why? Because the world is not clear, muddies them up, obfuscates them, fills up these principles and practices with misinformation. Is that it? Or is it just to talk about that the bodhisattvas can deal with principles, and after the words are over, they're back to samadhi? Is that how it works? Not clear, but this is a big, broad statement about bodhisattvas that seems to me to be open to a lot of interpretations. 就是说，菩萨 他们第八回向的菩萨怎么一回事呢？他们观想所说的还有所行的，然后他们要解释，他们随是言说，就讲完了就没有执着，可以这么解释。他们看时间，或者呢，就世间是怎么哪一个世这个世是什么？是不信佛的人吗？跟佛这个人所讲的，就跟着他们来毁谤吗？然后呢，不执着了，怎么讲？或者呢，就说随世所说，世所说的是什么？如果是学者，就用很高谈阔论的方法来，好像给你就是一种的什么一种戏论呢，还是这个口头禅呢，也可以这么说。可是呢，心里不执着，讲完了就清净回复他们的定力，也可以这么说了啊。所以就是菩萨有在第八回向的菩萨就是这么一回事。Okay, I'm going to leave it where it is, that they, how does the world talk about principles and practices? More important, I'm busily looking here because there's activity to my left. Okay. I think the principle to be used here is they practice what they preach. No matter how people talk about it, they, on the bottom, tap on the bottom bar. Okay, there we go. Thanks, Bob. Okay, how? So the important thing is the practice part. No matter what people say, the bodhisattvas still practice. They're not attached to what people say. They actually put into practice what they preach. 我觉得重要在这里就说，如说能行，不说一样能行啊。重要就是脚踏实地，真正去做。Okay, there we go. 除灭一切执着因缘 They eradicate causes and conditions of attachment, which is to say, the mind that could attach is the thing that they eradicate. So at this point, at the eighth transference, what happens at the eighth, coming up in a bit, at the eighth stage, they're not at the 10 stages yet, but there's all of the eighth, from the eighth abode, practice, transference, and ground, or stage. There's a similar thing that happens at the eighth step of each of those 10 phases. They are already in the realm of vows, beyond conscious thought. They're no longer in the realm of duality and discrimination. 因为到了第八，无论是第八回向，或者第八住、第八横、第八回向、第八地，一样的，就是说超过分别心，不在那儿思考，就已经那个无作、无功用那个境界，所以那个执着的因缘已经不再实行了，超过了。Okay, what else? 知如实理，观诸法性，皆系寂灭。They understand the principle of ultimate reality regarding the nature of all phenomena as tranquil and still. All right, now this one, man oh man. Nope, don't understand it. This is a elevated state beyond the realm of thinking of any kind, because the mind itself has been transfigured. Can we use that Christian word? Transfiguration. There has been a change in the actual makeup of the bodhisattva's mind past stage number 7. even though this is the seventh transference, right? Not the seventh stage of the 10 stages. There's a difference here. And they're in the realm of what's called effortless action. Yesterday in the Entering the Dharma Realm lecture, chapter 39, that we do every Saturday in America, Sunday here in Australia, at that stage, the Bodhisattva, his name is, it's fascinating, his name is Shan Zhu Biqiu, the Bodhisattva, wholesome abode, good dwelling, good roommate, you say. He lives good, capital G, good. He is the master of psychic abilities, Shantong, psychic powers. And he's teaching Sudana, the pilgrim, about these. And he says, how can I do all these incredible things? It's because I have obtained the Wu Zuo, Wu Zhu, Shen Tong Li, he says. He says, I can do all of these incredible 18 transformations of the Arhat, etc., because I have mastered the strength, the psychic power strength of not stopping and not doing anything. And you go, whoops, read that back. I want to hear that again, please. So, doing nothing and not stopping, wuzhu, not abiding, not resting, you can do all these incredible things? Yes. In other words, now, one way that we looked at this was fascinating, and it's right here, the same, okay? He understands the principle of ultimate reality, the nature of all phenomena is tranquil and still. So he doesn't have to exert or expend, what's the not ergs, the carbon, how do you measure the amount of effort used in the brain in a thought? Doesn't have to do that anymore, because he has attained what Taoism points to in Wu Wei. You remember when you first touched the Tao Te Ching back in high school, and you saw Lao Tzu talked about the sage who, by doing nothing, everything is done just right. And you compare that to another creation story found in the first 5 books of the Torah, the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of what we call the Old Testament in the Methodist world, and where there's a creator deity, a supreme being, who in his omnipotent power takes 7 days to make the heavens and the earth, heaven, only one, the earth and all creatures in it, and then rests on the 7th day. What is that? Another creation story. So we've got the book of the people of the book, that is to say Christians, Catholics, Jews, and Muslims. And you have a being who is the creator. You come to the Taoist worldview, where the sage is able to contemplate and get things done, order heaven and earth and humanity through creative inaction, Wu Wei. Now you come to a Buddhist view of the way things get done. And on one hand, it says, Yingguan Fa Jie Xing, Yiqie Wei Shen Zao. Look at the nature of the Dharma realm. Everything is made from the mind. And when your mind is in the samadhi of the Bodhisattva, the nature of all phenomena is already tranquil and still. So Sudana's fourth advisor is third or fourth advisor, depending on how you count, is a monk whose name is skillful abode, good at dwelling, good abiding, wholesome liver, wholesome being there. And he says, I have psychic powers because I've obtained the strength of psychic power of not stopping and doing nothing. You go, whoa, everything's made from the mind. I better get my mind quiet, because then it can, this incredible software program that is inherently there waiting to be booted up and disciplined through precepts, samadhi, and wisdom, practices and vows, there it is, and I can do these amazing things to help living beings. 就说这种的境界哈，就说观诸法性皆是寂灭啊，这个是怎么会一切法，就说这个实际性。现在用 Zoom 这个软体来听经，所有的法都寂灭吗？怎么会寂灭？就什么都不动了？有，就是华严境界，第8回向华严菩萨的境界。昨天我们在讲那个入法界品39品，这个上彩童子瑜教他的第3个还是第4个，看你怎么算。这个上知识，他叫善住比丘，他呢是一切神通妙用的，这个就是有这个功夫神通妙用的专家，他就给上彩童子讲，还有天龙八部在那儿聆听，他就说我可以在空中飞，可以盘腿在空中飞，就像一只鸟啊！我可以伸出一只手摸一摸太阳还有月亮，我可以从我的身体的下边伸出一切火炬火焰，在身体的上边就发出一切水，种种就是罗汉18变菩萨的方法。然后他说为什么？你知道我为什么能这样做吗？他说因为我得了一个法，这个解脱门是什么？就是无住无作神通力，这是我所得的讲给上彩童子听，哇，上彩童子就有嘛。然后想想看，他因为掌握地水火风，所有的4大五行什么的，他就掌握了，他有把握，能控制所以能造出身体都可以到各世界的法会，参加佛的法会来供养听经，这样子都可以自在，真的自在这是华严经所讲的菩萨的能力。其他的故事呢，就好比说圣经那个旧约头5品，第1 Genesis，上帝就用7天造成天，还有地，还有大海，还有人类，还有万物，到第7天他就休息了。这是这个故事。伊斯兰教犹太教天主教、基督教就这样子信仰，这是他们故事的基础。然后呢，我们到了道教，道教怎么说呢？就说圣人就以无为为主，什么都不做，一切天下太平了，天地人就有个平安这是另外一个创造天地的一个故事。然后我们回来华严经，就说因观若人欲了知，算是一切佛怎么来的呢？因观察法界性，一切为心造。然后法界性怎么样呢？法性皆是寂灭，这是华严经的菩萨的 creation story。哇，一切为心造，可以比较起来就知道这个佛法的微妙，真的是不可思议哈。Okay, there we go. Now, moving on. What's next? 了一切法，同一实相，知住法相，不相违背。They understand that all phenomena derive from the same ultimate reality, realizing that the characteristics of all phenomena are not in contradiction with one another. So how is that possible? It's because they all arise from the same place. They all arise from thoughts in the mind, but not thoughts the way we understand thoughts. They're all there. Seriously, I mean, computers provide us with a really, really helpful analogy for this, for understanding what's going on. For example, right now, those of you who can see my desktop, I guess, I don't know if you can, what does Zoom allow you to see? I have a bunch of icons in the bottom of my Macintosh here for different programs. And as I look at them, here's a section that are used for photography. I've got a lot of photography apps. I have sound apps for making sounds. I have the Apple built-in apps. Then I've got my word processors. Let's see here. My word processors include 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 different, for outlining, for large items, for brief items. Then I have communications apps and calendars and browsers, etc. All of those functions are there inside this thing called a hard drive that we have come to take as very normal. There are people listening online right this minute who are old Mac heads, back in the days of BMUG, Berkeley Mac Users Group. Oh boy, oh boy. I have a Microsoft free computer, I might add. I am a Nicest Writer user, for those of you who care about such things. And also Scrivener. I've got Scrivener here for large projects. So there we go. And yet, right this minute, how many of these programs do I use fully, or do I ever boot up in it within a year? Many, but not all. The mind is just the same way. Even less do I open up the app that allows me to dig into the guts of the programming areas that Apple allows us to touch. I don't go there often. So the same way, we are using our minds at a superficial level, and yet the Avatamsaka Sutra is the operating manual that gives us all the instructions we need to go to the source code of our minds and get involved and transform it. And we don't. We understand that all phenomena derive from the same ultimate reality. They're all contained within this, it's now a solid state, not a disk anymore. It's not a spinning disk. It's a solid state silicon wafer. But the characteristics, as long as it's working, the characteristics of all phenomena are not in contradiction with one another, because the Apple operating system is a closed shop. You don't get to, it's not an open source where you plug in a driver for this and that. So they are not in contradiction with one another, and mostly they work until somebody cracks it and then Apple releases an update. So, by golly, currently, let's see here, we are now at system Sequoia 15.2. That's where the Mac OS is. And we're using more in less space than ever before. So, who knows? At the same time, quantum computing promises something very different, even though no one has ever seen a quantum computer that actually works. So, does the Avatamsaka promise us Buddhahood using the same hard drive? Yep, it does. You just have to cultivate it and transform it using the methods the Buddha outlined, and we can get quantum computing equivalent in our mind. 就说这个道理呢，怎么说呢？了一切法，同一实相，就说知诸法相，不相违背。这个怎么讲呢？大家想想看，你们看不到我这台电脑的下边很多小的那个 icons， 这是所有的软体的节目在这儿。我不是一个时候同一个时候 操作所有的这个节目呢，那个 memory 不够了。不过潜能，如果我愿意就说打开一个，就举个例子，就说我那个word processor, I don't know. Yihuan is on there. She can tell me what the word processor name is. 这个东西，我用不着所有它的功能，就一个节目，我没办法用完了一个软体的这个功能，何况所有的这些节目这个软体的 how do we call programs, right? 文件 right is I understand in China it's called 文件，不是软体，用不着了。可是啊，无论多少，都是在一个硬体一个 hard drive 上，包括在内。这是什么？这是个比喻，讲我们的心，自己的心什么时候用完了我所有的功能？没有了。虽然如此，华严经是一个说明书，告诉我们怎么样到了这个 operating system 里边把它感化了，就变成一种万能的一个文件。心可以成佛，如果我们用华严经的说明书来。Somebody is shouting outside, "Hey, can you stop that, please?" I can close the door if we need to. 所以这个我们知道谢谢。这个文件跟那个文件不会互相违背，除非你的电脑有问题了。苹果电脑时常都会发新的，现在到15.1、15.8，现在叫 Sequoia。It's 15.2， 15.2。什么时候有人就打击这个软体，他们就换新改变了。Okay. Oh my goodness. You're listening to... Not now. We have a mother bird with 2 babies that she is feeding. That's what you're hearing. 你们听到的是一只鸟，一个母亲叫科尔王，她2个孩子就在那儿要吃。哇，吵。Okay. Let's see here. I think I've got a... Yes, for 程式 for program. 程式 for program. Okay, good. Thank you. So, 这个电脑发明电脑之后，就给我们一些新的比喻，可以来讲修行，还有自己的心和佛法。Okay, moving forward. I'm kind of in deep water here with vocabulary that I don't even command. Here we go. 与诸菩萨而共同止，修行其道，善摄众生。Together with all bodhisattvas, they cultivate the same path. All right, that's a good translation. I really like that there's a verse in the Ten Practices chapter that talks about, it's chapter 40, Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, says that may all living beings with whom I share practices and vows cultivate together with me. May it be the case. How do we, so, excuse me 1 second, be right back so we don't have to struggle with these noises. Hey everybody. close the door. I have an active bird cafe in the same space as my lecture hall. So, there we go. That there's a verse in the chapter 40 of Samantabhadra's Practices and Vows that talks about how we come together to cultivate our practices and vows. May all those beings meet with me life after life, it says. And I really love the positivity of that statement. And it's sobering in difficult times like those we face now. America has a lot of immigrants leaving America, and lots of folks who are thinking they may be thrown in jail because of the views they've expressed. And at times like this, one of the most helpful contemplations that I know is that real bodhisattvas, as I understand it, don't seek to live in a time when everything works well. Bodhisattvas go to where the pain is. The way shang shan ru shui, the highest goodness is like water. It flows to the lowest places, places that other living beings don't want to go, and times when they don't want to be alive in those times, because that's where they help the most. Another analogy is for medical doctors, the kind of courage it takes to really help living beings in the midst of plague, in the midst of pandemic, to stay where the pain is, to help with their skills, where people need that help, right? That's always moved me deeply. So it's a helpful contemplation to be alive in trying times, to stick around and find ways to help. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. What else? 入去来今一切菩萨回向之门. Bodhisattvas gather in living beings, leading them to enter the door of dedication of all bodhisattvas of the past, present, and future. Did I miss something here? 同志, okay, 善摄, there we go, 善摄众生. 修行起道善摄众生入去来进. We have to read this together. Sorry. I'm going to put those two together one more time. 再来. 预祝菩萨而共同旨. 修行起道善摄众生入去来进一切菩萨回向之门. Okay. In English, we got to put it together. Together with all bodhisattvas, they cultivate the same path, gather in living beings, so they can enter the door of dedication of all bodhisattvas of the past, present, and future. Okay. This, as the years spin through, it's becoming more and more clear to me how significant is this practice of dedication of merit, transference of merit. If you look at other expressions of the Buddha's teaching, the Mahayana Bodhisattva is pretty unique. I don't want to say unique, that's a strong word, but rare amid Buddhist practices is this one. Number 10 of Samantabhadra's Practices and Vows, explained here in our Ten Transferences chapter, how the Bodhisattva gives with his or her mind. And by doing so, can do such things as create a pure land, can take beings from suffering to suffering's end. And we who had a chance to be with Master Hsuan Hua, we saw our teacher, Shifu's rhythm every night, twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday. His rhythm was, he would put his palms together, he would explain a line of sutra, then he would say, he would say, please translate that into English. Then while we were doing the process of translating, we who had the opportunity to translate, Shifu would be sitting on the seat, busy. He'd be putting his palms together, doing the 42 hands, I believe. He'd be doing different things and reciting. You could see him saying things. And then he would, sometimes if the translation finished before he was done, he would finish, and then, have you finished translating? Okay. And then he would explain the next part. Now, I don't know what Shifu was doing. My observation of him was that he was transferring merit. He's cultivating and transferring merit. So this was an activity that our teacher, if I'm right, that's what he was doing, he's transferring all the time, cultivating and transferring all the time. And we would hear stories from people near and far, often far, who would say, oh my goodness, my mother was on her deathbed and she was worried and we were worried about her. And just at this moment, we had a vision of Master Hsuan Hua, and she was calm, and just with a smile, she passed away, and there was just this wonderful feeling in the room. Something happened, and everything worked out great. Worked out for the best, not great when somebody's dying. We'd hear these stories about Shifu's presence. He would be in San Francisco physically lecturing on the sutra, but we'd hear a story from Hong Kong where Shifu appeared in a dream to somebody, or appeared to save someone, or gave them peace of mind at the end of life. All these incredible stories. How did he do that? Don't know, but it had something to do with this ability to what? To enter the dedication of all bodhisattvas of the past, present, and future, enter that door. And this is the power of a mind transformed, disciplined, smelted, and made bright through the Buddha's teaching of the Bodhisattva path. This is a powerful, powerful method. And in order to cultivate it, we don't need any apparatus. We don't have to change. We don't have to recharge batteries, right? Put these in a charger to recharge them. How many cycles do they have? We don't have to use any other device beyond the Buddha Dharma, its disciplines, and its regular, steady practices to turn our minds into this beacon of light that is the mind of the Bodhisattva doing transference. So let me translate that. 就说菩萨他就跟过去现在未来一切菩萨修行摄受众生，然后呢入这个回向之门，一切菩萨回向之门，这个法门普贤菩萨第10大愿是汉传佛教尤其华严经的菩萨的一种宝贝，就是有光明的一个修行的方法。哇，我们多少次看到师父在那儿，他的方法就是他在那儿先讲一段，然后说你帮我翻译啊，然后我们再 师父法座下翻译的弟子们，就可以看到师父就在法座上，他就合掌或者做这种手印，然后就念什么。我们到底师父做什么不知道，这是师父的这个修行的方法。然后呢，我们如果已经翻译好了，师父还在做，我们就可以看他在那儿结束，他就说翻译完了没有啊？好啊，那我再讲。这样子呢，师父在那儿这样做的时候，好像他在修一个法，然后回向。我们以后就有机会问来就说听说哪一天哪个时候在香港，或者在台湾，或者在温哥华，或者在哪里，有人就临命终，就在他们的那个床上，本来很焦急，然后就在这个旁边的人帮他助念的人都会说，我们就闻到一个声音，大家就想到神华上人了，然后婆婆或者爷爷就安详，就快乐，就平安无事，在那儿就很面带笑容就往生了，大家就不着急，没有忧虑我们都一起都想到师父，或者呢，那是一种，另外一种是人就说，对了，我晚上梦到神华上人了，就看着师父，我就跟我好像微笑，我就睡醒了，解决问题了，我就明白应该怎么做就对了。这样子，很多的人不在旧金山，师父在旧金山，在法座上修什么，然后回向，就远地都会有灵感，都会解除师父的慈悲。很多次听到这些事，是不是一个有菩萨这种功夫的人回向的能力吗？有没有？我也不懂，不过我相信是这样子的所以呢，我就说大家我们要注意这个回向这个法门，就是不用加另外任何的这个设备，不必买什么工具不必加一个滑鼠不必添那个电池，在充电的电池不用了，不用学什么软体、什么软件、什么程式，不用了，你就用自己的心加佛法、菩萨道修行的方法，慢慢的，这个心就变成能回向的一种灯塔或者可以说一个手机的这个广播塔也可以了就是佛法是为这个而用的尤其汉传佛教大乘佛法的菩萨道，所以呢，这个回向这个法门非常有力量。以助佛法，心悟经部。With respect to all Buddha Dharma, their mind is without fear. OK， 再来一个。以无量心令诸众生普得清净。Their boundless mind inspires all living beings to attain purity. Okay, let me take a look here. I'm curious whether... Okay, yeah, too bad. I had a friend, a Dharma friend, who was in Singapore, and I was explaining Master Empty Cloud's picture biography and how when he got to the Chan session at Gaominsi, he had fallen in the river, nearly drowned, still made it on foot to Gaominsi. That's a long journey. And they say he was more dead than alive at that point. He got to Gaominsi, they told him they wanted to make him one of the proctors of the Chan session. He refused. They said, we don't want to beat you, but according to the rules, we have to beat you. So they beat him with a board, with a stick. And can't beat it with a stick. And he was now outflowing from every orifice, blood and truly more dead than alive. And yet, at this point, he was able to just sit. And 20 days into the session, all of his illnesses miraculously healed themselves. And he was now sitting upright and shedding light. And before long, he was able to get enlightened. Now, somebody asked a question during the lecture, typed it in, and said, Dharma Master, if I cultivate really hard, will all my illnesses heal themselves like Master Empty Cloud? And the answer to that question is, if you're cultivating for the purpose of healing all your physical illnesses, you won't succeed. There's an attachment there. You've got a self and something to get. Master Empty Cloud's illnesses healed themselves without his thinking about them. He wasn't cultivating in order to do that. He was cultivating because it was a Chan session. And he had earned the right to sit still. And because he'd been beaten, because he'd nearly drowned, his false thoughts were particularly light. And so there could be a transformation. And as they say, the lacquer barrel was broken through before long. So it took a lot of suffering to get him to that place of liberation, where his body and his mind were pure. The body just followed the mind. The mind was pure at that point. So that was, and there was a spontaneous response that his body healed itself because his mind had healed. He didn't have a thought of healing. To go into cultivation to say, I'm going to heal all my illnesses now, just like Master Empty Cloud, you have to do what he did up to and including being an 8-stage bodhisattva for that kind of response. It can happen, but are we at that point? If not, cultivate to follow your vows to help living beings, not to help yourself. Okay? 就说在讲解那个虚云老和尚的画传，新加坡有一位居士，他就说：“哎，法师，我听虚云老和尚在高敏寺那个禅期，他能在打坐的时候20天，他所有的病痛就离开他的身体，就无药而愈，就不药而愈啊！我能像他这样子吗？我如果用功修行，所有的病痛会不会愈好了吗？”我说可以是可以，原则上，不过呢，必须要走跟虚云老和尚一样的路，一直到第8地菩萨。他打坐在高明寺参加禅期，没有一念我现在打坐要病痛要愈好了，没有那个思想，没有那个念头，就因为没有我相，没有所得的心，才能就说破出那个 黑气通，才能破班禅。如果他心里立那个我所有这个念头了，那就障碍他的道理，不会有什么灵感。所以我们修行要看自己的愿力那个愿力不是为帮助自己，是为度众生、利益众生就可以了。Okay? So I don't think my Dharma friend is here at the moment. I wish it were. Wish he were. So all illness, absolutely all illness will heal through cultivation. Good. Okay, I hope that is true. Okay. Alrighty. We, at the moment, right now, are going to switch. We got to this point. This is our last line. Next week, we're going to get to the Zhenru Xiang, Piru Zhenru. Okay, I want to share with everybody an amazing, amazing story. 明日到利家国东境，至一大城。城西到北有大安罗林，林中有一700岁婆罗门。再来，林中有一位700岁的婆罗门，几之观之可30许，直状魁梧，身力严审。On the following day, Master Xuanzang reached the eastern part of the country of Cheka and arrived at a big city. To the west of the city, by the northern side of the road, was a large mango grove, and in that mango grove there was a Brahmin who was 700 years old. What do you say? 700-year-old Brahmin. He visited him and saw that he looked like a man of 30 with a strong body and a clear mentality. How often does when you read that you think, wait, stop, no, what? 700 years old? 真的700岁啊? Wow. Yo, when has Master Xuanzang lied to us? He is not writing a fiction, he's not writing fantasy. This is what he saw. Okay, a seemingly 30-year-old, 700-year-old Brahmin. So 7 centuries of history he saw in person. 7个100岁 right? 世论700年了的历史，他亲眼看到了。Okay? 明中白诸论，善费多登书，有儿世者各100余岁。He was learned in the Madhyamaka Shastra, okay, Zhonglun of Nagarjuna, and the Sata Shastra, Nagarjuna, as well as the Vedas, Hindu texts. He had 2 attendants, both of whom were over 100 years old. Oh my goodness. Currently, I have attendants who are covered in black feathers and won't stop shouting because they're babies and they're hungry, right? Oh my goodness. 100-year-old attendants, 2 of them. And he himself is 800 years old. Okay. 700 years. 法师与相见，言纳甚欢，又称被贼，即遣依侍者，命城中信佛法人，另为法师造时，其城有数千户。信佛者盖少，宗室外道极多。When the Brahmin saw the master, he received him with great pleasure, and on hearing that he had been robbed, the old teacher sent one of his attendants to the city to ask the Buddhist followers to prepare food for the master. In the city were a few thousand families, of whom only a small number were Buddhists. The majority were 外道, heretics. Okay, heretics. All right. Now, oh my goodness. So the situation is, we recall that Master Xuanzang had just been robbed, and the robbers, he got away, he didn't die, and the Brahmins, the Indian residents of the neighborhood, went, set out the alarm and got a vigilante posse larger than the bandits and scared them away. So Master Xuanzang and his followers lost all their stuff, all the gifts that they'd been given. So this, you call him elderly? How do you refer? What's the respectful term for somebody 700 years old? This ancient, this miracle gentleman puts the word out into the town of non-Buddhists that they've been, their reputation has been harmed by local bandits, and the guests from China have been inconvenienced and put in harm's way through robbery. So he says, please give him the stuff that he lost, make up for it, okay? 就说因为当地的人知道有土匪有贼来了，对他们这个是对他们这个地方的人名誉了有不利的，所以他就说请大家来，就把东西补给他们，他们东西所有的就没了，所以他就告诉他们这样做了。Okay, so 法师在加时弥罗时，声誉已远，诸国皆知。When the master was in Kashmir, his fame had already spread far. He was known in the various countries. Okay, remember that Master Xuanzang stayed in Kashmir, this hotly contested area to this day. And at the time, it was a real paradise. He was there for years, and he became the favorite student of the elder teacher there. Sangamitra was his name. And what was his name? Got it right here. That's the robbery. Let's see here. In Kashmir, sorry. Here we are. The teacher in Kashmir whom Master Xuanzang stayed with was Sangakirti. And Master Xuanzang became his favorite student. So to the point that the previous students of this elder teacher got jealous and had a confrontation, a battle of the bands, and Master Xuanzang clearly knew more and was more eloquent and more virtuous than they were, and they all became friends. He taught and transformed his fellow students of this elder teacher. So then he came out, got robbed. Now he's going down the road to the town and met this 700-year-old Brahmin who is there to, who wants to extend hospitality to make up for the burglary, okay, the theft. 所以呢，就说有那个长老就接受玄华上人接受玄奘法师，变成他的得意门生，其他的同学就妒忌了，然后玄奘大师就clearly 很清楚比他们有功德，比他们聪明，比他们有辩才，他们也降服了，变成他的护持人。然后大师再继续往南边来，就遇到这些土匪然后这个700岁的婆罗门知道这个情形， 他就告诉他所有的门人，地方的人就来供养他，就补去他所失去的东西了。Okay, now the messenger went through the city saying, the Chinese monk is here. He met robbers who took away his stuff. This is a chance for you to create blessings, merit, and virtue. 就说其实那片城中造长云，至那国生来，近处被贼依附总进，诸人以供之时，你们大家来，这是好机会给你们种福做工的因为他需要东西了，他就说福利所感，遂使邪党革新，有豪杰等300余人，闻已各将半碟布一端并封饮食，共进而至居积于前，拜跪闻讯。So, under the spiritual influence of the master, some of the heretics changed their faith, and on hearing this announcement, more than 300 noble men, each with a piece of felt cloth and some food, came to offer them to the master with respect. They piled up the gifts before him and bowed to him. So, how amazing, right? That there is such a the respect for this elder is such that all he has to do is tell the story and people respond appropriately to come and make offerings to Master Xuanzang. Of course, it's because they see him, his virtue, his deportment, just the way he stands, walks, sits, and reclines, the sound of his voice, everything about him is the real deal, the real thing. So as they come to make offerings, they are taught and transformed. 因为玄奘大师呢，你看他的行为、行住坐卧，他有功德光明，所以呢，一看到他就闻风而化，大家听到他的声音就感化了，他是真真实实的东西。Okay, let's see here. 法师为咒怨，并说报应因果，令诸人等皆发道义，弃邪归正相对笑语5月而还，常年叹未曾有，于是以牒布分给诸人，各得数具一直，又用之不尽，以50端布封事常年。So the master blessed them, preached the doctrines of retribution and causality, advising the people to believe in Buddhism, to give up what was wrong and to accept what was right. They smiled, they talked among themselves, they returned feeling happy. The old teacher remarked, this was an event which had never happened before. The master distributed the felt cloth to his companions. Each had a quantity of cloth sufficient to make several suits of clothes. As some cloth remained, he offered 50 pieces to the old teacher. Okay, now here we've been following his story, and people know about him because of the heroic, incredible strength it takes to travel as far as he did and to go over the mountains and over the desert and over the rivers and survive robbers, etc. But look at this. Here's the story of the teaching, his impact on people. And this 700-year-old Brahmin is a wise man. He recognizes Master Xuanzang. And when Master Xuanzang speaks the Dharma, people have good roots. They go, yes, we will become your disciples. You've got what we want, the truth. So we're going to take refuge with you. And they become Buddhists on the spot. So pretty amazing。就说大家知道这个玄奘大师呢，他就去印度取经，就过了喜马拉雅山呢，过那个大摩诃宴，真的不容易做到了。可是呢，真是他是一个法师，他讲经说法，就大家闻风而化，他们就愿意变成他的弟子，虽然不是佛教徒，愿意变成佛教徒，这是多么伟大的事情。Okay? Let's dedicate merit like these bodhisattvas do and study from them. 我们就会上供的吧。来。我们学习菩萨。May every living be our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Now, because this is the city of 10,000 Buddhas, we can bow to Guanyin Pusa. And bow 3 times. Here we go. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Amitofo. See you all next week. We're heading towards the year of the snake. Happy New Year, everybody. Amitofo. Bye now.
Thank you, 师父老师。
You're welcome.